Hello. You're about to watch an episode of a sailing trip I was recently a part of. We sailed from San Diego, California to the San Francisco Bay Area, and it took us 10 days. And I made a complete film with the entire passage. And then I've broken it up into these small episodes as well. And at the end of this episode, there'll be commentary about the episode where I'm reading from the journals and just talking about stuff we saw and stuff that happened on the trip. So check it out, and check out the links and subscribe if you like it. Thanks. one, but I gotta catch another. It's difficult up there because the bow's so high.
Right. Just that's what I take, let it roll.
Yeah, but if you leave a little bit of water in there, it takes the bucket down easier. Yeah. Here's some.
Go.
We're in our bucket. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I see the green chip. You just watched episode 4 of Pushing Northwest. This leg of the trip was from Santa Barbara, California to Monterey, California, and it took us 46 hours. So it was 200 nautical miles, and it was the longest leg of the trip. We had to go out around Point Conception, which is often called the Cape Horn of the Pacific, which is in our instance wasn't the case, obviously, but and I know many people have gone around it and had no problem, and I know people have gone around and had really rough seas. So we had a really quiet, well, choppy but quiet trip as far as what could have been, because it is a rough point to round. We left Santa Barbara at 8 p.m. We'd been talking about leaving at like 11 p.m. or midnight, because that's the pretty common time to stay till to kind of catch a weather window around Point Conception. But it was very low winds and very small seas in the forecast, so we went ahead and left at 8. We were sailing out of Santa Barbara Harbor, and just gorgeous sort of sunset with palm trees and the mountains on the horizon. It looked like a typical California postcard. And as we're coming out of the little channel, there were a couple of these those strange tour buses that go in the water and then drive out. And with tourists on there just going bananas because there were dolphins swimming around, so they were like cruising right up on them, and they were real happy and excited, and then got stoked to see us and taking tons of photos, which was funny. But then we made our way out. I was on the first watch shift from 8 p.m. until midnight, and it got dark pretty quick, and we were sailing into, I think, like 12 knot winds, and straight into the waves. So it's kind of a lot of like hammer motion over and over again, and that stayed pretty consistent all the way till after we were past Point Conception the following day. So lots of like just hammering into the waves. But got dark, the sky was clear and full of stars just from horizon to horizon, beautiful. I saw a falling star that was a large blue flash that burst into many pieces, and blue streaks went out everywhere. Really great. Made a wish. Still waiting for that to come true. So and as we sailed up the coast, we got to where the oil spill had been, and you could smell crude oil really bad. It was really sad, and we had been told at the marina that if our boat ended up with any oil on it, that they would, whoever's handling the spill cleanup would clean the boat for free. So when we got to Monterey, we checked and we didn't have any oil, thankfully. But it was sad. You kind of could tell the immensity of it, even though this was kind of small on the scale of oil spills. Still, to be able to smell it that far away, out at sea was, yeah, it was really sad. So, but we pushed on, and at midnight, Nigel came out, and he was taking the night shift. So he came on, I went down, got in my bunk. This was the first time I'd ever slept underway, especially on, you know, crazy seas. So, you know, I was like, well, we'll see how it goes, you know, laying down with like the boat bucking so hard, and got in my bunk, and it's like when I closed my eyes, I felt like a child's arm, you know, when you put your arm out the window in the car. That's what my body felt like, or like some kind of spaghetti noodle going with every wave. But pretty quickly, the combination of the engine right next, you know, a few feet from me, and the smell of diesel fumes and the motion of the boat, I was in a totally in a coma. I slept great all night. About 5:45 in the morning, Nigel tapped me on the head for my shift, and I got up, and he asked me to check out the sunrise. Peeked out. We were right off the coast, had just come around Point Conception, and beautiful sunrise just under the cloud cover. And I looked at it, and then I took some photos, and then climbed back in to start the kettle, and he starts yelling, "Oh my God, come out! Something just surfaced!" And so I come up, and he was freaking out, and he was like, "Some massive thing just came up right there, right off our starboard bow," and he was like, "I don't know what it belonged to." And then we look back, and 2 adult orcas surfaced right behind us, and one of them's dorsal fin had to have been like 5 to 6 feet tall. It was massive. And so we're freaking out, and it ended up being a family of orcas, so 2 adults and then 3 babies. And the adults swam off, and were playing between us and the sunrise, and then the babies were just hanging out in our wake, and they stayed with us for about an hour. And they would keep their distance. We tried to slow down to get them closer, and they would back off. So we just, you know, I mean, we were only going like 1.5 knots or 2 knots, I mean, because we were beating against the waves still. But it was incredible to see them. I'd seen orcas far away in Scotland, but never up close, and it was really phenomenal. So that was cool. Got some footage and some photos and stuff. So that was great. And I'll just read some passages, just because since I wrote it, it's easier than, you know, retelling some of it. It says, "The sun is drawing a silver line across the sea surface. I can see a massive pod of whales off the starboard side. The sun illuminates their steam spouts, and at one point I counted 15 at once, spanning a distance of at least a mile, if not more. A pod or school of dolphins is near them. I estimate that there are about 100 dolphins, all racing and jumping out of the water, likely feeding on the same school of fish as the whales. The dolphins in that kind of mass remind me of images of herds of wild mustangs running through the plains of the Southwest." And then it talks about, I was the only one on deck at that time, and we were coming in and out of patches of fog, and we're coming into this fog, and I see this oil rig just appear, you know, like a nautical mile in front of us, and then we're heading straight at it. So I changed course to miss it, and there ended up being 3 in a row that, you know, we had to stay clear of. But those things are, I call them the scars of the sea, because they're, you know, no good. It says at 8 a.m. the winds have increased to 15 to 18 knots, headwind. At times our bow is buried beneath the waves, an unnerving thud as our speed has slowed to a crawl 1.5 to 2 knots. And that was the funny thing, is the bow was just hammering. It was like being inside the head of a gavel or something. But Nigel was just up there sleeping away, no problem, in the V-berth, like, pretty amazing. At 10 a.m., me and Tim and Nigel were sitting in the cockpit. We're just visiting, and all of a sudden, a puff of steam and mist comes up and floats through the cockpit, and we see the back of like a huge, I believe it's a gray whale, right there, and that was cool. And we didn't see a lot of dolphins past that point where I saw the ones feeding, all the way up until Monterey. We saw a number of whales, but very few dolphins out that way, especially considering the numbers we saw in Southern California. I think the rest of that day was like we were just locked in marine layer, couldn't even see the coast. Just felt like some giant cataract that was kind of over us, and just all around gray and just, you know, hammering forward. We did see huge patches of sailor by the winds, just millions and millions of them we would sail through, which I unsuccessfully tried to catch. You saw that on the clip. The next night, Nigel took the night shift again, and I woke up at 4 to check on him, and he said he was cool for another couple hours. He said there was so much fog that he just put on the radar and kind of slept in the cockpit and would open his eyes like every 20 minutes to make sure we were on course and there was nothing going on. But there was so much fog that nothing could be done really. So he said it was pretty easy shift actually, just, you know, just rely on the radar, and our course was set. So just continued. So at 6 a.m. when I got up, you know, we were still in thick pea soup fog, and but with the sunrise you could see these hints of color in the sky and these different tones, and it reminded me of like a James Turrell piece or something, like an immersion piece. Really beautiful to experience these strange warm tones just kind of breathing on the other side of this dense fog. So that was nice to see and experience. And the rest of the day we were totally locked in fog, so there wasn't much to see, wasn't much to film. But eventually we got to our waypoint, which was off the coast of Carmel by the sea, and we were watching for our buoy, and the visibility opened up a little bit, and so we saw it, and then within minutes the fog moved back in. So I ended up like sitting on the front and just watching for the buoy because there were rocks that it was marking, and that's where we needed to turn to start turning into Monterey Bay. So we got within a half mile of it, it appeared again, and we were super low on fuel at this time, and just hugging the coast, hoping that we could, you know, cut the tightest corner possible, because our fuel gauge had been bouncing from 0 to empty for a while. So we were just kind of holding our breaths, and the wind wasn't with us, so it was like it would have been a real drag had we run out of fuel. We'd have had to sail back, you know, away from Monterey to try to call for help. But we finally made it to our buoy point and rounded it, and once we started getting into Monterey Bay, the wind shifted for us and was in our, you know, on our side, and so if we did run out at that point, we could at least sail across the bay to Santa Cruz. But we really had a long trip and was hoping to get in tied up to Monterey. So, but we ended up making it no problem. Pulled in, it was like, as soon as we got into Monterey Bay, we sailed right out of this like crushing gray fog we had been in for the last 2 days, and beautiful sunshine, and it was warm. We rounded the breakwater, and tons of seals barking us a chorus as we passed, you know, and pulled up to the dock. And then we got everything taken care of, tied up, and we ended up taking a day off. So the next day we took the whole day and just hung out in Monterey, and it was nice, and we all needed it. Monterey's incredible. There's so much life everywhere. It's just teeming with life, which, you know, goes to show if you protect an area, this is what can happen. And I'm going to do an episode of just sort of, you know, the stuff I shot in Monterey on the day off that's not included in the main film. So that'll be the episode next week. So keep an eye out for that. And thanks again for watching. And if you like it, please subscribe. And thanks.